Please welcome the President and General Counsel of Standard International, Amber Asher, and the SVP of Global Marketing, Luxury and Upscale Brands for IHG Hotels and Resorts, Jane Mackie, and the Chief Marketing Officer of Ennismore, Martina Luger, in conversation with Skift hospitality reporter Cameron Sperance.
Good day, y'all. Thanks for joining us.
Hi,
Cameron.
So I am really excited about this panel because I've been covering this a lot during the pandemic because it's been the rare growth story for the hotel industry. And so I want to start with a bit of a round robin for each of you because I inevitably get this question anytime we put out a lifestyle hotel story. What even is a lifestyle hotel? So Martina, do you mind if I start with you? I mean, how do you define it at Ennismore?
I think kind of two ways. I think there's the kind of softer way, which is more around the emotional piece, that they are brands that stand for something bigger than their actual products. So they really do more than just their product experience and connect with people and have a purpose outside of driving revenue. I think that's one side, and that means that people emotionally connect with them. And then on the kind of harder side of things, I would say it's around the type of audience that you have. So you probably have a pretty equal mix of locals and international audience. And even that comes down to revenues, like from an F&B perspective, that means actually a lifestyle hotel, therefore your F&B becomes pretty equal with your hotel revenue as well. So that's kind of roughly how we think of it, kind of soft side and hard side. Great.
Amber, what's the in-house definition at Standard International?
I think for us, it's really about the guest that drives it because, we, from the experience of like hotel jargon, nothing really suits exactly what we do. We're not luxury. We're not limited service. We're not 3-star, we're not 4-star. We're kind of all of it. If you take the Standard Highline, for example, you can go to the beer garden and have a sausage and a beer, and you can go up to the boom boom room and have a martini and oysters. You can have, a windowless room in the middle of the Standard London for the night owls, and you can kind of sit and take a bath on a terrace for Standard London. So, from our perspective, it's really about understanding the guest wants and needs and trying to match their lifestyle versus providing, whether it's a turn down service or, whatever they would tick the box on a 4-star, 5-star hotel. It's really meeting the guest needs for us.
Great. Now, Jane, what about at IHG? I mean, what do lifestyle hotels mean? And I hear you might actually be coming to us from one of your lifestyle properties.
I am. Greetings from the Kimpton 90 in my hometown of Boston. So at IHG, we have 16 brands in total. So we did, as we approached our new master brand look and feel earlier this year, we did put a lot of thought into what is luxury, what is lifestyle, vis-a-vis some of our other brands, and landed with the luxury and lifestyle category we have now, which is Six Senses, Regent, Intercontinental, Kimpton, and Hotel Indigo. When we think about lifestyle in general, almost all of those brands, and maybe a few of our other brands in the other categories fit in because we think about them as diverse as any of the 5 of us on this discussion. We all lead different lifestyles. Some of them may be similar lifestyles, but each individual person has a lifestyle. To that end, unlike some of our brands that are prototype brands from the build into the service style, each lifestyle brand will be individual in its design, have a common but very personalized approach to service, and bringing that together into what are even the types of markets where we would put a lifestyle brand instead of or in addition to one of our prototype brands. So I think it's that balance, but individuality of design and very personalized service being the cornerstones.
Absolutely. Now, Jane, I mean, how big is the lifestyle hotel sector or luxury lifestyle hotel sector within the IHG portfolio right now? I mean, I know you have a lot of divisions, and I mean, how much do you think it could eventually get to, or even just account for in your development pipeline right now?
Really, it's relatively new category. IHG used to just have Intercontinental in this sort of premium entry luxury price point. Now, when you look across those 5 brands that I just named, we're at over 400, close to 450 properties open, and the pipeline is an additional 241 across those brands. So I guess what we've learned is that we don't know the ceiling and how fast we can grow. The commitment and the benefit of having 16 brands is that we will only grow in the right locations with the right partners and right design, and which has become critical, I think, for everyone on this call and everybody in the audience, where we can have the right labor pool to deliver the level of service that these customers paying this premium and choosing the forward design, the base level and over the base level that they expect. So it's really being very choosy, and probably on the supply side, and I don't know if the rest of the panel agrees, supply side and the opportunities are probably broader than what we would actually choose to put these brand names on.
Great. I'm getting pinged that we actually have poll results ready from an audience poll that we just took. What's the most defining characteristic of lifestyle hotels? Everyone tends to rally around the idea of experiences and events. Decor is second. Cultivating communities third. And actually F&B is fourth. That's pretty interesting to see. I mean, what's y'all's takeaway from this? Amber, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting to see. I think, we've been in lifestyle or boutique or whatever you would define it as for a very long time. But I think really when you look at it, it's all about the experience and what we're offering to our guests. I mean, the food and beverage is an experience. How you interact with the design is an experience. How you interact with the mini bar is an experience in lifestyle. So, we're big on activation and, also on activism. So, for us, it's all different layers in an experience. And I think as we see the pandemic ending and people traveling again, that's what people are going for. It's not heads in beds. It's that destination, that memorable destination that's really ingrained in the community and those offerings. And then, the kind of surprise and awe you get from a new place with new talent and new experiences.
Yeah. And I mean, why do you think the industry is kind of migrating in this direction? Because I mean, if there's one thing from the pandemic I think all learned, unfortunately, is that at least the F&B component is kind of known for having razor thin margins, et cetera. I mean, what's the appeal in kind of putting more emphasis on that compared to, say, just a regular hotel room?
I mean, from my perspective, I think it's, we have to differentiate ourselves, and we've always done a lot of F&B. The standard Highline was, I think, 55% of its revenue was from F&B. So that's always been a huge aspect of our business. And, as we grow across the world, that's very integral. However, and I think obviously it helps with the rates when you're getting, a great restaurant, a great offering. And not all F&B margins are razor thin. Finding staffing is challenging right now, but, in the beer garden, for instance, or Le Ban, you do have great margins. It's the full service restaurants that I think are the challenge. But yeah, I think it creates this entire, like you're saying, experience, because now people, I think when they're going to new cities, whether it's Nashville or London, they're not going just to stay in whatever's the most luxurious hotel. It's what's the restaurant, what's the nightlife, how do I feel when I go into the happy hour bar after a business meeting, and how do I interact with the team, and maybe there's a band playing. And that's how I think people are looking at travel going for. I think people have been looking at travel that way for a while, but I think now that we've all been stuck in our homes and locked up for a while, I think even more there's an appetite for all things that travel has to offer.
Got it. Martina, I want to bring it to you. I mean, there is a lot of competition in this space, and not just the three of y'all, but I mean, Accor and Ennismore announced plans for a joint venture last year, and I know the Accor side of it had some data points around F&B and just kind of alternative uses, that it can be anywhere from 50, sometimes 70% of revenue coming from areas beyond a traditional hotel room. I mean, is that something you're also seeing at Ennismore, and what are some of those leading alternative uses at your properties?
I mean, I think they all work together. I think it's hard to kind of, you pick one, I think it's so important. F&B drives rooms, room drives F&B. We've got co-working spaces that drive, I mean, it's the ecosystem. And I think every single hotel, lifestyle hotels have an ecosystem, and they might be different in each one. Some have got more kind of, pool resorty type things. We are more city-based than what hotels we have. So I think, yes, each one has their role to play, and the percentages change depending on where you are, but they're feeding off each other. And I think that's and what's important for each city. Like, we're seeing co-working is quite a big thing as well. So we've got a couple of co-working spaces within the hotels. Actually, the one I'm sitting in now, we've got 6 floors here. And, you think co-working to F&B to rooms, I mean, it's not doesn't take a rocket science, right, to figure out that connection between those three. So co-working definitely is a new area that is growing rapidly, where, particularly, and we've seen that it's coming back much quicker than hotel rooms are coming back. I mean, all the F&B's come back pretty quickly, and the places that we can, but co-working really has kind of extrapolated itself as a new area, which has maybe overtaken where we had meeting and events before. You kind of see that shifting and changing. For now, obviously, that's evolving, and as things open up, that's definitely something we're seeing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's been a lot of chatter in the office community about co-working and how hotels might be able to capitalize on that. I mean, is that something that, just given sort of this ongoing conversation about how flexible will work be after the pandemic, I mean, is that a growth opportunity for your lifestyle brands?
Well, I think it's funny when we talk about F&B, like, we have our lobbies, and I think it's probably similar to some of you guys, right? There, we've all done co-working. We just did it for free, right? Our lobbies are there, and we'll still always have that, and that's a big part of it. So it's not always F&B. It's come and sit for food and drink. It's, come and hang out and use our spaces. One day you'll have a glass of water. The next hour you might have lunch. Next day, so I think that's always been something that we've all kind of been in co-working, which I think it is an interesting thing for us. So yeah, we see that kind of growing more and more, but it's something that's always been there. I just think now with flexibility, some people, we've done something called rotation on one of our properties, which is people don't want just the space now. We used to sell by space, but that's not the way you sell, right? Because you're sharing it. People aren't coming in. You're doing 2 days a week. So you've kind of got to change even that perspective. So I think we'll see more people using free space as they're working part-time in offices, part-time at home. I think you'll see people buying spaces in different ways because they'll need them, whether that's companies buying it for employees, whether that's people sharing spaces in different ways. So I think there'll be a lot of innovation coming within that based on kind of the different patterns of work.
Great. Jane, I want to come back to you and the regrouping of brands that y'all underwent last year. And I mean, given just sort of the push towards lifestyle brands, I mean, are any elements of lifestyle hotels seeping into maybe other brands of yours that wouldn't traditionally be seen as a lifestyle hotel or even a luxury hotel?
Yes, definitely. And again, that's that drawing the line of lifestyle baby versus boutique. But obviously a huge trend for all of us. When you think, I thought it was interesting experience and events. And I think luxury and lifestyle is all about a different E, which is energy. When you hear the conversation from Martina and Amber and the food and beverage and the importance of co-working, people that choose a brand like a Kimpton or Hotel Indigo are seeking energy. That said, another major lifestyle choice, which I think will be even more prominent coming out of COVID as all of our COVID kilos are becoming more visible, is wellness. It was there before. It's going to be huge coming out. And with Six Senses and our sister company of Six Senses, Maison d'Ette, which conceived all the wellness and spa programs for Six Senses, we've been able to bring that wellness ethos into our Even brand, which actually is in our premium category, but it always was wellness focused. Our Regent brand, which is more focused on serenity as well as a bit of unexpected harmony and a bit of decadence. But how do you bring wellness into that customer journey, which is not just about your gym and spa. It's about movement, diet and exercise, quality of sleep. So a lot of sort of those lifestyle choices that people make using the expertise and what our learnings from luxury and lifestyle brands to improve the overall experience everywhere.
Great. I want to get back to another round robin for y'all, just because there's so many questions about the sector and how big it can get. And I've noticed sort of the competing ideas are, yes, you can scale this up and have hundreds of lifestyle hotels around the world, whereas others say, no, you can't, because it begins to lose some of its cool factor that makes them attractive in the first place to travelers. So Amber, I mean, I want to start with you. How big can you make this without kind of compromising on cool and hip factor?
No, it's a good question. I mean, when I started with the company 10 years ago, we had 4 standards. Since then, we bought Bunkhouse brand and took that from 4 to 10, which is growing throughout the U.S. We're launching 2 hotels this year in Asia, in Bangkok, and Hua Hin. We have hotels in the Maldives, and really our global growth has been explosive. That being said, it's not easy. It's, for us, it's really the team, because we don't have, we do have our brand standards and things like that, but we don't have a prescribed view on this is what each hotel needs to be, and this is what you do here. And especially from a design standpoint. So, for us, I do think we can grow, and I think we can expand, and we're certainly on that path. I think we'll have probably 20 to 25 standards in the next, 5 years. We've got Bunkhouse growing as well. And we have a new brand called the Perry brand in Asia. But it's really about getting the right people that are tapped into the things we care about, that are like-minded, and that are really tapped and immersed in the areas within, that in the culture and in the location that they're in, and then really giving them a platform and that autonomy and working as a team. Because I've been at many founder-led companies, and I think that's where they stall out too, because it's not one person's perspective or one person has to make the decision. We have a collection of really talented people, and we find people in the local jurisdictions and places to kind of carry that torch for us. So I think it's hard, but I certainly believe that you can do it well if you have the right team in place.
Martina, how about you?
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree. I don't have it. That would be my really similar answer. I think it's about, people think because you get big, you lose authenticity. I think you lose authenticity when you change the culture of how you operate. I think that's when it happens. When you think about, everything's about return on investment, and you don't sometimes go with your gut. Like, what happens? You have to think about the values, like as an entrepreneurial company. When you're small, you do things differently. And what are those values, as you were saying, Amber? Like, I'm totally in line. And then keep those values and allow people, don't centralize everything, allow people the freedom, give people the trust. We're similar with, we don't have brand guidelines. I think that's a positive thing, because otherwise suddenly people execute, and keep the same type of talent. I think the difficulty is often when you get bigger, it's hard to attract certain types of people. And I think that's where you have to make, little teams, feeling even if you're part of a bigger company, you have got to have breakouts and autonomy, so that you kind of capture the right type of people that really are passionate and immersed in those cultures. Because it isn't, and keep that, internal language is just as important, because it will be expressed externally. And I think that's, for me, obvious things are focus on what your brand means and make sure you keep it, don't compromise. But internal culture is really, I think, what drives all of these lifestyle brands and drives that kind of startup mentality.
Jane, how about you? Any different takes on how big this can get at IHG?
No, I agree. It does start with the talent. And when you go into a new project or projects, and as mentioned previously, we have a large pipeline, but it's recruiting that local team and making sure that ownership, the exterior designers, that they all come together at the beginning. And then you enable, and I'll take my head of design, Brendan Pakula, on Hotel Indigo, what he said, it's massive customization, but within a framework. So have people understand the ethos of the brand, and then the creativity goes from there of how do we bring it to life in this individual hotel, in this individual neighborhood, in the case of Hotel Indigo. And I think that it's all back to the right talent and starting fresh with the right talent and a common vision, asset by asset.
Great. I want to talk about growth opportunities in our panel with Hilda from JLL and Tyler from, we were just kind of going over potential investment opportunities to be had during the pandemic and how you might grow. And I know there's kind of this question of a lot of capital waiting on the sidelines, but there haven't been necessarily as many opportunities that we would have thought a year ago. Amber, are you seeing any opportunities for Standard to get even bigger just as a result of this pandemic? And how do you kind of capitalize on the downturn for lack of a term and hopefully build the brand up?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. For Standard and Bunkhouse, we've certainly spent a lot of time looking at opportunities for growth in terms of whether it's acquiring another kind of like-minded company or, growing with certain partners that we have. I think the whole thought that all of these distressed hotels were going to come in and we're all going to be taken over really kind of went to the wayside. What I'm seeing now is actually people wanting to buy some of our operating hotels that are doing well. And that's maybe, trading more than I would see, all these opportunities in that respect. But through Bunkhouse, we've gotten a lot of opportunity to do takeovers, and really people are excited about travel again. And so they're smaller, more bite-sized hotels that we can take over, rebrand, and kind of bring online really quickly, which is really been exciting for us. But yeah, Standard's growing, but it's slow to grow. We have a lot of projects, but to do them right, it's not a flip and we're ready to open the door. It's 3 to 5 years, it's 2 years. But there are these opportunities where I think some of the brands that we were maybe competitive with in the past have kind of either gone a different direction or have been, purchased by some of the big brands, and people still want to work with kind of the independent mindset. So we are seeing opportunities in that regard, but we're more of a brand management operations, concepting instead of purchasing. So I haven't seen as many in the just distressed hotels trading, which is I think what everybody expected would happen from COVID.
Yeah, Martina, I mean, what growth opportunities have you seen so far, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to that question. I think there's a belief that lifestyle brands are the ones that will succeed from this. So I think maybe that's where the growth opportunities come rather than the stress, where people are going, if I have a choice, right, which brands are going to come out faster? Leisure, I mean, corporate travel, that's an interesting area. What's going to happen there? Leisure travel is definitely what's going to bounce back first. So, and lifestyle hotels, are definitely more dominant than leisure. So I think that where we see growth and opportunity is people saying, okay, this is the area I believe in. This is the area I believe success will come out faster, quicker. And there's still more growth because, yes, there's a few of us here in the room, but there's still a lot of places out there where, there aren't lifestyle hotels. In many cities, there aren't choices for people, right? So I think, there is opportunities with existing brands and new brands still to come. And we see that people feel this is this kind of, the safest and most interesting area within, the hotel industry at the moment. Slightly biased maybe, but
I agree. I mean, we're going into places where we will be the only lifestyle hotel, whether it's through bunkhouse or we're opening up the Standard in Hua Hin, Thailand, and so we're going into Louisville for bunkhouse. So it's exciting to go into new areas and kind of become the anchor of that area and offer what lifestyle has to offer.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm getting pinged. We have time for one more question. So I mean, we've talked about each of your respective brands. Just looking ahead at how you've seen the travel recovery so far, where you think it may go over the summer, I mean, how much of a force do you see this overall lifestyle sector becoming in the next decade or even beyond that? I know, Jane, you said that IHG is kind of waiting to see a little bit. And I mean, it obviously there's a lot of optimism around it, but I mean, do you think this becomes a much more dominant force within the greater hotel sphere?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry.
Yeah, I think, obviously as an owner developer, that community wants to, there is capital out there and they want to invest in hotels where they can get the highest possible ADR, highest possible RevPAR. So there is that available capital out there with a long-term horizon and how they look at the investment. But back to the consumer, what we did see pre-COVID, I think amongst all of us, and looking at the research of what people say they want to do and where they want to go, it is much more that even more heightened sense of discovery. I want to go somewhere new. I'm an individual and I want to break out. So I do think from consumer demand as well as the development community, lifestyle is definitely here to stay. And I think the growth potential is really, really large.
Yeah, maybe I'll just add to that one thing we haven't touched on, which I think lifestyle does a lot, is kind of investment in communities, right? Giving back. I think particularly coming out, of COVID, I think you'll see people choosing where they're spending their money. People are realizing also, I think people's choice about what's important, what's not important is changing. So I think that's also where I think lifestyle will play a big role because those brands really have been kind of giving back, and selflessly giving back, not just, for, purpose. And I think that's also kind of going to play a big role in it.
Absolutely.
Great. Amber, anything to add before we jump?
No, I mean, I think I've only worked in lifestyle, so I'm a big proponent of it. I think it's growing. We feel that, it's everybody kind of wants it right now. And honestly, we're nimble. We're able to do things I think some of the big chains and brands can't do. We can drive a high ADR and have a lot of flow through in a hotel like in Austin, Texas. So, we can take projects that you wouldn't expect to be hotels and create hotels out of them. I think that's what makes it so exciting to be in this space, is that it's not prescribed. It's all very kind of entrepreneurial, and it's just exciting to kind of go to a community and create, what is going to be the anchor for that community. And I think investors and developers want to be part of that excitement too. So we find a lot of these like-minded investors and developers, and we partner with them, and we make the most of it. But I'm all about lifestyle, and I think it's only going to get stronger.
Good note to end on. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and have a good rest of the summit.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron.
Bye all.